Most AI products are built to impress in a demo. They look great on a pitch deck. They wow in a boardroom if you think about it. And then real users get their hands on them. And nothing works the way it was supposed to. My guest today does something different. She builds AI that kind of listens, AI that actually understands the human on the other side of the screen. And she does it by bringing something most tech founders don't have, a deep, trained understanding of human behavior. Tonight on the AI Sisterhood podcast, we are finding out exactly how she does it. You are watching the AI Sisterhood podcast, and if you're new here, I'm Aarti Rajendran, an AI educator, founder, and community builder. And every Saturday, I sit down with a woman who's building in AI and kind of ask them to tell me the truth about how they're actually doing it. Here's the number I want you to hold on to in your mind right now. It's 22. That is the percentage of AI roles globally held by women. At the research level, it drops to 12%. At the executive level, that's less than 14%. And yet, the women I keep meeting who are building in AI are extraordinary. They are shipping real products, they are founding companies, they're solving problems that will shape how all of us get to live. They are not just always the loudest voices in the room. This podcast exists to change that. Hear how they built it, then just go build yours. Tonight's guest started in public health, a master's in public health and nutrition from the University of Minnesota. Years spent analyzing health data, managing innovation pilots at Optum, working to kind of solve interoperability between EHR at social care. She was never the tech person, as she says, always a person who understood the humans. And then something clicked because it turns out understanding humans is the hardest skill to find in AI and the most important one. Today, this guest is the founder of Ayla, an AI platform to build to close the gap between knowing what to do and actually doing it. An L5 Diamond lovable ambassador, an AI product strategist who describes that her superpower is having an X-ray vision for product workflows. The ability to look at user journey and instantly see where AI can remove friction or unlock something entirely new. Oh, and one more thing. This guest does not download apps anymore because she builds them. Please join me in welcoming Tanya Coller. Hey, Tanya, how are
Hi.
you feeling today?
Good, good. Thank you for having me.
Awesome, cool. So, how's the Saturday going on today?
It's great. It's a nice, cool morning here in Minnesota. We're getting ready for a huge snowstorm tomorrow. So we're going to have to snuggle in tomorrow.
Awesome. That sounds like a dream.
It actually will be fun.
Awesome, awesome. So, a couple of questions that you filled, for this specific episode, I'm like low key obsessed with it
Yes.
because I'm like all excited to hear about what you have to say to this amazing audience of the AI Sisterhood podcast and your whole journey and everything. All right, but
Yes. Excited to share.
start. Awesome, awesome. So let's start at the very beginning. Okay, Ayla, can you tell me everything? What specific problem did you watch, and what went unsolved or the gap, and how did you get this idea? Even can we start there?
Yes, for sure, for sure. I may even go further back if you'd like me to kind of also share how did I get to the place of actually building Ayla myself. I started out as a registered dietitian actually, like 1,000 years ago. My previous jobs as a registered dietitian, zero technology background, right? I was obsessed. My master's is in behavior change and really obsessed with how people make their transformations, how people change, how they change their habits. So that's kind of my foundation of where a lot of this came from. But through that journey, I went into marketing as a registered dietitian. I worked for a company where I did marketing for a company that worked with nutrition, and then eventually went to Optum and became a product manager there. And that's where I suddenly kind of decided to go into building software myself, but had no idea how to build software. But I was like, meh, give it a try. How bad can it be? How hard can it be? And it's hard. It was really hard. And that's when they suggested I go and get agile coaching and how to learn how to be a product manager of software. And what was really interesting in that experience was I was a learner at that point, right? I was the one who was learning about how to think iteratively, how to think about the customer. And it really was like, oh, this is exactly what I used to do as a registered dietitian and as a behavior change person. I was that person who was thinking, what will it take? What is their journey? What is their current experience? What do we need to change? And I can bring that to my product, to this product that I'm building. So then after getting my own coaching, I decided, I love this space of helping people think about the person that they're building for. I love this space of understanding what their current situation is and what behavior we want them to change and how can we use software to help them change it. So I became a coach myself then. I became an agile coach and a product transformation coach. And it was through that experience, and it was probably around last fall, fall of 2024 is when, ChatGPT came out. And I was a product coach, and I was a product coach for an enterprise, and I was coaching this super back-end team that was talking about RAG, retrieval augmented generation. They were talking about Google services like Vertex AI and APIs, and I was using ChatGPT, and it kind of clicked, RT. It clicked in my head of, wow, can I bring these worlds together? Can I, as a coach, there are moments that, I have all this content and it's sitting in a SharePoint, right? And like, it's all these decks and all these PDFs. And as a learner, as someone who's trying to learn to become more agile, someone who's trying to learn to be more product mindset, I have two options. At the time they had two options. It was, I can go and ask the coach, but it might be 11 p.m. I can't ask the coach at 11 p.m. I might have a question that I'm kind of maybe, I don't know, feel a little vulnerable asking, right? Like, what is an epic again? Or how do I write a user story? Or is this a good user story? And their other option was go to the SharePoint. They had to find the document in the SharePoint. Then they had to find the answer or where their question was even addressed in the PDF or the slide deck. And then they had to read through it and kind of use their own, like, am I understanding this right? But there was no place to ask questions, right? And that's when it kind of dawned on me, how can we use this new technology? How can we use this new technology to merge these worlds, this human experience of, I want to learn, I want to get better at something, but I'm stuck in just these static content. And so that's where the idea for Ayla came from, right? How can we upload this content? So I created a platform where people can upload the content and really interact with it. Now they can, a coach or anyone has any kind of content, they upload it and it becomes interactive. Now their learners can ask it questions. I don't understand. Help me understand this. Help me, have a conversation essentially with the content. And I was able to build it myself because of our tools now, like Lovable allows people like me who are non-technical to have an amazing idea and know a problem space, know the pain points, and talk with the tool to build it myself. So that's kind of the whole, story of how I got this idea and where it is today. And I'm super excited to have to work with coaches and help get their content really be interactive, with their students. So it's been exciting.
Wow, that's pretty awesome, Tanya, because I don't know, I've kind of like worked building on a couple of products, and I understand the whole pain point behind it. Sometimes I have wished, like, before this AI boom kind of took place, to kind of just scream at the code I'm working in. What are you? Why are you not working? Or if I'm like about to work with somebody else's code and build onto that, that's even worse, right? Like, so that's a pretty amazing pain point to solve. And I guess the name kind of the Ayla, you mentioned that it comes from a book. So I mean, I love that you picked out a name from one of the books that you've read. So can you tell me more about how the story connected to what you're building?
Yeah. So, when you're building a product, you're looking for a name that's meaningful, or I was wanting to find a name that was meaningful to me and might be meaningful to others. So Ayla is spelled Ayla, and it actually it's a character of a book series called The Earth Children, written back in the, gosh, probably 80s, right? I'm aging myself a little bit, but Ayla really was a female protagonist of the book series. She was a representation of the future. And that just struck me. And she's always kind of been in the back of my mind as someone who was courageous and forward thinking and futuristic. And that's really what this platform is. It's a new way of learning that we haven't had before. We haven't been able to interact with content before generative AI became a thing. And now we can. This is a great tool for helping people really dig in and help their learning process. And it's new, and it's the future of learning. I believe it's the future of learning.
Yeah, awesome. I'm like really optimistic about this whole product, and I can't wait to like try it out on my own coaching business.
Yeah.
So I'll probably connect with you after this podcast for me to kind of get onboarded. Um, but this is a question that kind of intrigued me when I was like, prepping for this whole podcast. So I come from a public health background myself. So I have a master's in biostatistics and epidemiology. Looking at your background, like you've worked in Optum, Berkeley Heart Lab, social care. So at what point did you realize that this background was actually your superpower, in order to kind of build something as huge as this, like not something you needed to move fast, but then something to embrace on?
Right. Yeah, it dawned on me, even you asking that question was, what is my superpower? And sometimes, I don't know if other people feel this way too, but maybe let me ask you, like, when you have a superpower, sometimes you think everyone has that, right? Like, it's so natural and so innate to you that you're like, oh, can everybody do this? But I started to realize that not everybody can or even thinks this way. But I hope maybe even this podcast will help people realize they also have this superpower. And that is, my background is in behavior change. My background is in, really understanding people and the habits that they do currently, and how they need to change or what they want to change. And that superpower, that maybe obsession or passion, or just I really enjoy understanding people. So that has allowed me to, when I hear someone talking about their current workflow, or I look at an app and I see the workflow of an app or a customer journey, I have this weird superpower. I can like narrow in and say like, oh, that would be really great for helping someone summarize something that they're trying to do. Or this would be a really great spot to help them generate some content. Or this might be a really good spot for decision support, like helping them think about their next steps. And all of those are where generative AI or AI in general can come in and help. And so I've been realizing that the more and more I get and learn about AI, I've already been thinking of those friction points. And now it's just about, we have tools to help people with those friction points. So I can marry those two together, which has been really a fun way to bring that kind of obsession with the human, obsession with the customer journey and friction points, and now layer in, how can we help AI? How can AI come and help those friction points, make it even easier and better for people in a good way? How can AI we can use in a good way?
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing right now. And then you're describing like how about what you just said. So I think the a quick word kind of like popped up, which is like one of the most important things right now for anybody building with AI is empathy, right? So empathetic engineering is something, is what you do. At least I don't know if you have already found it or if I'm naming it like the
I
first time
love
for
it. I love that. What did you call it? Empathy engineering. I like it.
empathetic engineering. Yeah,
Empathetic engineering. I like it. I like it.
awesome. Cool. So the idea that the human experience is like the blueprint of what you build. You're not focused on the algorithm or the kind of model you use, but you build something based out of like how the human would experience it, like
Right.
how you can help the human in a good way. So can you kind of like walk me through a real product workflow you looked at kind of very recently? What did you see that the people in that specific room did not?
That's such a great question. And it just literally happened this week. So in Ayla, I had built, I call them companions. So there's a general chat where students or learners can really chat with any of the coach's content, right, across the whole board. But sometimes you need certain, I call them companions. They're really like GPTs. They're like small assistants that are focused on a specific problem to solve, like or a specific, we'll even call it module, right, of the coaches. And so I created this concept of companions where the coach can upload the particular module for that chapter, and it would walk people through in a generative AI way. It would walk people through the questions that the coach had. And what I noticed when talking to customers or talking to those learners and even experiencing it myself, I use the tool as much as I have the customers use the tool or the learners use the tool, because I want to experience it myself as well. So as I was using the companion, and as I was talking with people who were using the companions, there was a human experience that wasn't good. It was because generative AI is non-deterministic, right? It doesn't ask it the same way. It's very much like a human coach. Like you don't always ask the same questions in the same order, and you might be giving people different experiences. And sometimes I noticed that the generative AI would wander a little bit, right? Wander away from the directions that we were giving it, because really these little assistants are essentially supposed to be modeling a behavior, but they don't always stay on track. And especially if this worksheet was, like 9 or 10 questions or more than that, we were noticing that it was wandering. And one of the big human experiences that I was having and the students were having is, when am I done? When is this module done? I don't have a sense of like how many questions are left and are we on track and am I going to get somewhere? There was a lack of feeling that we were making progress. It just felt a little like wandering. So that's where I had to rethink and say, hey, AI isn't good for everything, right? There are moments where we need to break from that, tool and say, what else do we need to really meet the human experience that's necessary? And so then I built in a concept of worksheets, but they're structured worksheets where essentially the coach now uploads their documents, and I have an assistant that creates this worksheet for them. So it is still AI. It's looking at the worksheets and it's building the worksheet for them, which is really cool. And now the students get to answer the questions of the worksheet. And now there's a little reflection point. So if the learner wants to reflect upon their answer, they can engage with the AI, but in a much more structured format. They can see all the questions that are coming. They get a sense of accomplishment. They can stop anytime, come back. They get to always view their answers. And it gives people a sense of progress and completion that wasn't there before. So that was a really fun design problem to solve, because we knew that we wanted people to engage and still ask questions about the module, but we wanted it to be not such a wandering, unpredictable experience. So we brought in some structure and some AI still. So it's a really fun thing. And now we're getting really good results and people are really enjoying the experience much better than they were before.
That's pretty cool. Like, can you say it's like kind of interacting with the product coach itself, without having the coach to like put in a lot of extra work to building those specific resources needed for the students taking it?
Right. That was really important. I mean, that's a good point that you bring up. as a product builder, especially a builder that is building for two audiences, right? So Ayla is built for a learner or for anyone trying to make a transformation, but it also needs to be thinking about the humans as the coach experience as well. So there's two different journeys I always have to keep track of. So when you're building double-sided products, it's both that you have to kind of be considering and balancing. And so the coach's journey, when you're building companions, I've been thinking about what is the friction, what is the process they have to do to build these companions, and where are those moments where we could, minimize some of the work they have to do. They've already put tons of work, right? They've already put tons of work into creating their content. How can we as a platform minimize the friction to then use the platform? So when they're creating their companions, there's different steps along the way that help them generate the content that then will go into Ayla. So they're not having to re-enter anything by hand and reimagine all of their work. We're trying to make it as streamlined as possible. And that's why we helped create, like, if you want to create a worksheet, put it into Ayla, hit generate worksheet button. It reads through your worksheet content and creates the worksheet for you, which is what generative AI is great for. So
Awesome. That sounds pretty cool, Tanya. Thanks for sharing this cool, awesome workflow with us.
yeah.
Okay, let me move on to one more answer that you kind of mentioned in the form, that instead of downloading apps, you kind of build them now. So,
Yeah.
which is one of the most kind of like a casually flex things I've heard in the recent times.
Oh,
So, how do you do it? Like, and why do you do it? How it has like changed your life?
right. So I'm a huge, if anyone who knows me, I'm a huge Lovable fanatic. I mean, Lovable, it's an AI tool, it's an AI code generating tool, but it is so much more than that, actually. It's a tool that it's an AI that generates code, but you can also ask it questions. And I treat Lovable as a partner in building. So I don't know if people realize when you're using a tool like Lovable, you don't just have to give it a prompt and say, go build this. And actually, I think if you do treat it like that, if you treat Lovable like, do this prompt, generate this code, do this prompt, generate this code, you're actually missing half of the value, if not more of the value. Lovable can also be a really great thought partner. I'm thinking about doing this feature. Is this feasible? Do you think people would find this helpful? What are ways that we could design this? If you use it as a thought partner, help me understand what APIs are. I don't even, like, most of what I've learned, RT, in this whole process, I've gotten from asking Lovable. I don't understand. Help me understand what an API is. I don't understand. What do you mean by data schema, right? And it teaches you as much as it does generate code. Can't say enough good things about it. But because of this, I now get inspired to just build my own apps versus having to go and buy them. And should I share an example of what I just built last weekend?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
So our daughter is getting married in April. And so she was over last weekend and she was like, oh, we need a way for people to share their pictures, right? They're going to take pictures on their wedding on their iPhones, and I need a way to have them share pictures. And so should I, send out an email? Should I, do a Google Dropbox or something like that? So my husband's like, oh, let's go look to see what apps are available. And I was kind of like, just like, hey, hold my beer, and I thought, okay, so what do you need? And so I asked her kind of what she was looking for. And within an hour, no joke, we had an app that is personalized to them. It has their wedding invite flowers on it because we uploaded the picture. It has a QR code. And all guests now have to do is scan the QR code. It brings them right to our daughter's wedding site. And they can upload pictures right from their library. They can download other people's pictures. We created a little admin part, so if we need to delete some of the pictures, we can. But now I own the data. I own the pictures. They're not sitting out on someone else's server, right? We own the experience. We can add, we can delete, we can add features that we want. We don't need features that we don't need. So this is where my other job is helping people learn how to vibe code, and people that have no experience, who don't think it's possible, who feel like I'm the least technical person, I will never understand, I will never be able to do this. Well, I feel like that was me. Like I had never written a line of code in my life, and I still don't write code, right? I partner with something that writes code. And so I run a lot of workshops on helping other women or men, but, focus a little bit on our Gen X generation of women who have been kind of brought up, and that's not me. I'm not technical. I don't build. You can now. And I absolutely love it. I love having people over. I love meeting with them. And I've seen so many women that I've met with open up whole new career paths for themselves, because they're building their own apps. They're solving problems now and bringing them to the world. It's like the most exciting and amazing journey that I've been on with that part, for sure.
That is absolutely fantastic, Tanya. Huge congratulations to your daughter on her like coming wedding. And like you said, it is right. Like so many people are building too many cool things right now. And I just watched on March 8th when Lovable announced like it's free for 24 hours,
Right?
and the showcase that followed it. Like a lot of people posting what they did. This is pretty cool of what you did. I kind of want to use it for my own use. Like India is kind of like known for its like big fat weddings, so this is the problem statement that would be very much applicable over here. So we those who attend the weddings and the bride and groom of that specific wedding, we don't get to see the pictures like until the very late,
Right.
after even
Right.
a month. So this cool thing, if you publish it ever, it will be a huge hit, at least in India, I'd say.
Yeah. And, to be honest, Archie, I would love to teach other brides, or maybe, it could be, I'd love to teach someone how to create this themselves. Right. Because I want people to feel like, what do they want in their app? They can put their own, if they had something special, color scheme, if they had special, like Isabel had special graphics on hers that, a friend had hand painted their invite. So we took that image and put that onto the app, right? So I would love to teach other brides or people who want to give it as a fun wedding gift to somebody, to build an app for them, right? And bring it to their wedding. So yeah, let me know. Let's partner somehow in this. That'd be fun.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds awesome and pretty cool. And the world needs more ambassadors like you, Tanya. Like the world needs more people who teach people, kind of how to be their own builders, or like how to become their own founders, or just get out there. So I'm
Just
like,
out there.
yeah, I'm having like super fun having this conversation with you.
I love it. And when I would encourage anyone just to go to lovable.dev, open it up. You do not need any special, they call them like product requirement documents. You don't need any special big prompt. Just if you have an idea, start typing, throw in the microphone, just say, hey, I see a problem. This is who's having it. This is what's wrong. This is kind of what I envision. Just start talking. I ramble in my Lovable. I just ramble. And it's so good. It just takes that ramble and it gets something. You get off a blank page. And then from there, you just iterate. It's not a one shot. It's definitely not going to just give you your exact app in one moment. It's an iterative process, but then you just work iteratively with it. So it's really fun and actually rather addictive, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it is.
Have you used it before? Have you tried it?
Yeah, I was part of the season 2 Shebels hackathon.
Good.
Yeah, and all of my websites that I have right now, it's built on Lovable, and I love it.
Perfect. Yeah. So you know the addiction.
You don't have any idea about how many $25 I've spent,
Yes.
exhausting the credits and getting more.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I agree. But it's a good $25 spent because, one of the things that I also want to share as a product builder is, sometimes we get stuck a little bit in, I want to build the perfect thing. I get stuck in this paralysis analysis. Is this going to be useful for people? Will this actually go anywhere? Should I even build this? There is a lot of questions. And as a product manager, you do tend to learn, like you're kind of put into this, don't build anything until you've validated all these assumptions. And the reason why a lot of people or other founders are told, hey, make sure you're validating all your assumptions before you build anything. And that's because engineers are expensive, right? Having your great idea and then hiring someone for $10,000 or more to build out your idea is expensive. It's a huge risk, right? What I'm seeing is a huge shift in build first. Get your idea out there. Don't be paralyzed. Just get an idea out there, then start bringing it to people and get their feedback. It's kind of shifting now because you can build on your own. If you have an idea, you don't need to do all of the pre-work and then hire an engineer. Just build it, right? Here's the other thing. You can then get the feedback from the people. The other thing is, let's say you don't get good feedback. Let's say nobody cares. I actually just built something this week and I was like, oh, this great idea. I'm going to build it. And then I'm kind of getting crickets and maybe it's not solving the problem I thought it was solving. Fine. But I learned so much just building it. I learned what the system can do. I learned what some limitations of AI have. I learned how I need to think about it a little differently, because once I got off the blank page, once I actually got the app built, it didn't solve the problem like I was thinking it was going to. And I just learned so much about myself. Oh, this is the way I think about things. This is the way I communicate to the tool. This is what, AI, again, what AI can do and what it's not good at. So I just want to encourage people, just try it. Just get something out there, because even if it doesn't become a business, even if it doesn't make you money, you will still learn so much about yourself, about building, about AI, about features, about people. And it's just a lesson learned, but it's not a waste of money. It's not a waste of your time. You'll always gain a benefit from just building something. And I built lots of products this summer that aren't going anywhere. They're fine. They're like, I built this pitch lab product. I didn't end up marketing it, but I learned so much about integrating voice AI into a product. So I just would encourage people just to build, even if it's not going to go anywhere. It doesn't matter. You're just still learning, right?
That's awesome, Tanya. And I cannot mention this enough, because the moment they build something, like from idea to kind of the first working version of it, the high that it gives you, that's like you cannot experience it anywhere else. Than it cannot be explained. You just have to experience it. So I resonate to every single word that you just said.
Yeah. Have you ever built anything that you thought maybe you were going to use or do with, and then you didn't, but it still taught you something? And what did it teach you?
Yes, a lot of apps I have right now that's sitting idly. It was like that. One specific example is basically I host another podcast. It's the AI radio show. So the initial seasons, it's currently in season 4. So season 1 and 2, what I thought was I could use AI to do the podcast. So something innovative, because I was camera shy back then.
Oh.
So it was an audio podcast. So I built a product in Lovable, which researches the AI news for that specific day, and then designs it into a specific segment. Like I had different segments of that podcast. So initially it would be news briefing. The second would be the tool of the day. So like that, it had like different sections. So it would kind of draft it into that specific different sections. And also I integrated a voice AI using 11 Labs. And cloned my voice, so it would create the whole podcast itself, using my voice. So yeah, and I overcame my camera shyness.
Right.
So I do it live now. It's not AI generated anymore.
Right, but you probably learned a lot. Building it, integrating with 11 Labs. What is that like? What is that as a product? How do I do that? Right. So that's awesome. It was awesome.
Thanks for asking me about it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like kind of
I
like,
love that it's now come into, you know, it was an experience, and it actually also taught you about helping you come up with your own podcast, and now you're doing it live, right?
yeah,
You still have all that great experience doing it, so it's awesome.
exactly. Yep. Thanks, Tanya.
Yeah.
So can we just like zoom out a little bit, okay? Because you have obviously seen a lot of AI products, you've built them, and also like you've coached a lot of teams that's like building them. You've seen like what works and what collapses. So can you give me the framework? Like, why do some of the AI products kind of fail? I'm not asking about the technical reason, that could be like numerous things, but then the real reason, like why do you think it fails?
Right, right. That's such a great question. From my experience and some of the courses, I've taken some courses on this as well, and through my own self-learning, really, and this is not even just my insight. This is tends to be just the industry's insight. When you start with the technology first, like, oh, I want to build in AI. There's a lot of right mandates now in companies. We gotta integrate AI. We gotta integrate AI. But when you start with the solution and you start with the technology, it doesn't tend to be solving anyone's problems, right? So really, it's coming from the human first. It's saying, what is someone's workflow? What is their journey? Where are their friction points? What would be a good solution? It might be AI, but it might not be. And then if it is AI, what does that experience look like? Also, when you're integrating an AI feature, thinking about, and I've kind of had to learn this the hard way too, is sometimes, especially when you are really AI fluent, you can jump to an experience that is a little intimidating for other people. So you still have to think about the user, the end user who's going to be using this. And if they're not comfortable using AI, if they're going to be skeptical of using AI, you have to keep that in mind when you're building that feature. Now, just because you're comfortable using AI and you're thinking this is all great, like me, you still have to think about their end experience. How do you make it feel safe? How do you make it feel, make sure it's accurate? So there's all sorts of other, next steps. You've decided to put an AI feature. You still always have to be thinking of the human that's using that. Is there a moment that you still need a human in the loop, right? Or are you jumping across and missing any kind of human in the loop validation, integration with humans still experiencing that AI feature? So my experience is when AI fails, it's because you're not thinking of the human who's experiencing and who's using that AI. And making sure that you're always thinking about the human friction, always thinking about the end user when you're thinking about the feature, designing the feature, developing the feature, what kinds of tests you need to run, because a human is going to be using that. How is a human going to be using it, right? And testing it in that respect as well.
Right. Right. Awesome. The empathetic engineering we were speaking about.
There you go. There you go. We're going to have to like TM that or something.
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Tanya. And I also like have this segment in this podcast. It's called the Sisterhood segment. Okay. So a question to you.
Okay.
What does sisterhood actually look like in the space of AI for you as a founder? The real version, like who do you call when things are hard? And also a bit of an advice to the audience who's like listening to this podcast right now. Um, you know, what should they know and what should they like, look forward to in their AI career?
Yeah, right. That's a good question too. So are you asking like what kind of resources should they use, or where do they go for their own mentorship? Is that what you're kind of asking, or?
Yeah, everything in between as well. So
Yeah.
essentially, like for those of them who's like just getting started into AI, like digressing, pivoting to AI career from anything else that they're doing at marketing, sales,
Right.
or whatever.
Right. My advice, and this is just my advice, but what I would think of is think about your own journey, right? So sometimes we need to think of ourselves as products, as humans, right? Us as humans, or us as in the career world, think of yourself as a product, right? Think of your own journey. Think about what, especially if you're trying to diving into AI and like, where do I start? To me, it would be helpful, and this is kind of what I did, is where do I spend time? What do I like to learn about? What do I want to get better at? Where in my journey am I looking to? Where do I kind of get obsessed? Where do I put my head down and I want help? So for me, I'm a creator. I love to build things. I'm a crafter. I like to do stained glass. I like to make things with my hands. I like to see output. That's just me as a creator. So when I was looking through my journey, I'm like, okay, well, if I like to create things and build things, I need to find an AI tool that will let me do that, right? I am not someone, actually, and one of my weak spots is marketing. That's not something that's interesting to me. And it's hard for me. I think you and I have talked about this before. And so I need to get there, but you almost create a roadmap for yourself, right? So I love building. So I went to that kind of AI tool first. Now I need to see, okay, where else do I need to go? What else do I do in my day where I can say, okay, I have this win. Now I need to tackle the next part of my life or my own journey of where I need to dive into. So if you love a certain thing, start exploring AI tools in that space. Then you can start tackling, where is there friction in my life? Start tackling those AI tools. You don't have to go across the board. You don't have to adopt AI across the whole board. You start small, start with something simple, start with something that you love and you're passionate about that you can really get into, and then start applying AI in other parts of your life. Have you found that to be helpful, or how have you kind of tackled this whole AI space?
Yeah, that's like, I mean, I was just like listening to you and then, thinking about how useful this is going to be, because back when I started, I, got into the AI space like before ChatGPT and all of this hype, like, were hyped. So I started out in, I guess, like 2019 or something.
Mhm.
So I guess like for me, when this hype began, and then I saw a lot of women who are kind of like struggling to understand, struggling to kind of like, should they go from the basics, or can they just get started with vibe code and then build something. So that's when I kind of realized that building something for these women especially, to not intimidate them with a lot of jargons and all of those tech bro stuff, but just simplify it, bring women like you onto this specific podcast and learn from you as to how you kind of tackled and everything. So
I love
I think that's how I'm kind of like navigating this specific AI era, if you
Yeah.
will.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you is, and as an example is, you know, for your journey and where you love to sit is as educating and helping people understand things. So that's where you kind of started using AI to say, which is interesting because you almost were using AI to help you do a podcast, right? And then you realize maybe AI isn't the right tool. Maybe it's just me, but teaching people about AI. And that's kind of that example of, what do you love? What do you personally love to do? Where is your I one of my customers on Ayla, his name is John Arms, and he has Voyager University, which teaches people how to be fractional CMOs, fractional CFOs. And his big thing is, what is your inner nerd, right? What is your inner nerd? What do you geek out about, right? What can't you stop thinking about? That's where I think AI can be really a fun tool for you then, because now you can do that deeper, faster, cooler, right? And so I see you geeking out, and your inner nerd is all about helping people understand AI and not be afraid of embracing it. And so that's what you kind of geek out about. That's your inner nerd, right? And my inner nerd is building. And so I love to build my own things and help other people build. So it's all about kind of finding that. And I think we're in an era now where, asking ourselves, what do we love? What do we geek out about? What do we spend time on, where all of a sudden we 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 look at the clock and we're like, whoa, that was 3 hours. How did that happen? Right? Find those moments. And that's where I would encourage people to kind of start.
Awesome. Yeah, that's amazing, Tanya.
Yeah.
Cool. So can we do a lightning round now? So
Sure.
this is like nothing serious. I just ask you a couple of quick questions, and you just like tell me the first thing that pops up in your mind. Okay,
Love it.
no overthinking.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm
Awesome.
ready. I'm ready.
Okay, question one. Your favorite AI tool that is not Claude or ChatGPT?
Well, that's lovable. It's easy. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of knew the answer like when I
Yeah.
prepped for this. The last thing that you shipped that made you genuinely proud?
Ooh, I would say it would be the worksheet function on Ayla and helping really people make progress and see that completion, but with the AI interaction.
Okay, yeah, that's a pretty cool thing. What's the biggest red flag in an AI product pitch?
Ooh, biggest red flag in an AI product pitch?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it would be when they're starting with the solution, when they're really just focused on what versus why or for who.
Okay, awesome. The app that you wish existed, but still nobody has built it.
Oh my gosh. Oh no. That's a hard one. Gosh.
Too many answers.
Too many answers or not. And I mean, there's so many apps out there. Or I build it myself. That's the hard part. I'm gonna have to come back to you on that one.
Okay, cool. And the best piece of advice you ever got about building stuff?
Best piece of advice, hands down, is really thinking about it with the human first, and really just making sure that you're keeping the human in your forefront of everything you build.
Awesome. I mean, that we keep coming back to it. Like, I love it.
Yep.
So, yeah. And one thing women in AI kind of need to hear right now.
You can do it. Everything's possible. Everything's figure outable. You can do this. It's possible now. You can do it. Yeah.
Awesome. Love this too.
Yeah.
Vibe coding or traditional development? Which produces better products?
Oh, that's a tough. Better is a hard word, and I'm going to get some pushback on this. I think they're both for good reasons, right? Vibe coding is great for people who don't know how to code and have great ideas and need to get off a blank page. Traditional coding is great for really getting something integrated into a system, like an enterprise level system. Vibe coding still has its downsides for sure. You have to be really vigilant about looking at the code still in the end. But I think they're both great for different reasons, right? For different purposes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's more about personal preferences, right? So vibe coding kind of opens the stage for like everybody out there who doesn't know how to code. But if anybody wants to like go the traditional route, I think they're good to go.
100%. 100%. Exactly.
Awesome. So this is my favorite question. Public health background, that's your whole background, right? So is it a blessing or a curse when you're trying to break into tech?
Oh gosh, I think any background can be a blessing when you're trying to break into tech, especially nowadays. Because where I actually think having a really strong background in something that is especially human, for example, teachers, please, teachers, you know students, you know what they need, you know what other teachers need. Start building those solutions. I have a friend who's a teacher and she's starting to build her own apps. Unlovable. Therapists, you know what people need, right? Think about that. I mean, it's any kind of background. If you are a strong subject matter expert in what you do, you can now translate that. You know the problems, you know the users, you have access to other humans that have your similar, experiences. You now can gather all of that human experience and problems, and now you can build it. I think it's a complete blessing to have a non-tech background and being able to translate it into something that will be helpful for that audience, for sure.
Yeah, I have to like agree with you on that, because I don't know, for somebody who's like entirely into like computer science or IT background, they might have a very strong technical forte, but then when coming to this empathetic engineering, identifying the problems in that specific domain, I guess you were right. Like having a background other than non-tech really helps.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I think they would be great. I mean, I would encourage anyone with a really strong background, think about the people using technology, right? If you have a really strong background in some kind of, the continuous integration development pipeline, for example, or you're a really strong engineer in back end, think about your subject matter expertise and how could you bring that and make it, who are the humans behind that experience? Still think about the human. There's still a human in some type of, in every experience. So even if you are really strong in technology, how could you bring that human experience and make it better for the humans that are using technology? Because you have an intimate knowledge of what that is.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, last question of this lightning round.
Yeah.
So, ship fast or get it right? Which side of that debate are you on?
Ship fast for sure. Now there's no excuse. Use something like Lovable, get it out there. It's essentially like using wireframes or pieces of paper to show back of the napkin, but you can get something in the hands of users instantly. Honestly, RT, one of my goals is AI tools to build apps, or is what I think people should have, like Excel or PowerPoint. Like everyone should know how to do it. Everyone should be able to bring out their phone on a golf course or at a restaurant and be like, hey, what if we did this? And they get something quickly up. They, bring it to their company. They say, hey, I'm thinking about this idea, and start thinking quickly and getting stuff out and getting feedback quickly. So, yeah.
Awesome. I guess that was a very amazing lightning round. So many insights,
Good.
It's kind of like, awesome. I loved it. Now, there is this one more thing that I wanted to kind of ask you about, which you mentioned. So you said your fun fact, completely unrelated to AI, is that
Yeah.
you always sit in the back row of a movie theater because the sound of people kind of chewing on their popcorn absolutely drives you insane.
Yes.
So can you give me the whole full scoop on it?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I have something. I think it's called like misophonia or something like that. But I really struggle with chewing sounds, like repetitive or any kind of repetitive sound. So, especially like popcorn, or there was a movie theater that once sold nachos. It was like a place where you could like order food, and they had nachos. I mean, that crunch in a movie theater, I get so distracted that I can't even watch the movie anymore. And they were like behind me, which is even worse, that someone's like crunching behind me. And so now my husband, when he buys tickets to a movie theater, we always sit in the very last row so I don't have anyone crunching or schluffling popcorn or, right behind me and then distracting me. So just a silly little thing that just bothers me, and actually my kids growing up, I had this rule that I had to teach them that they put the popcorn in their mouth, then they close their mouth, then they can chomp on it. So yeah, I don't know if anyone knows what that's called, let me know.
Awesome. So have you ever acted on it, like, in a movie theater, they were like, shh, something like that?
Well, actually, this movie theater, I could have, and I didn't, but you can actually write little notes. It's called Alamo Draft House, if anyone has been there. But you can write little notes to the management. It's more for like if someone's on their cell phone or someone's talking loud, you get to write a note to the management and they will remove that person because they have a no cell phone, no talking policy. But they don't have a no chewing loudly policy. So I didn't feel like I could write a note and have them removed. But they should have a no chewing loudly policy.
Yeah, maybe somebody who's watching this is owning a movie theater or something.
Yeah.
Take notes, people.
Yeah, chew quietly should be the rule. Turn off your cell phones, no talking and no chewing loudly. I mean, yes. Why not?
That's amazing, Tanya. That sounded like really funny and really specific. So that's why I thought like I'll bring it up.
It is, yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to ask, like, what is next for Ayla? Any sneak peeks you can share with the audience?
Yeah. So one of the things that I would love to, I have it built in, but I need to kind of really start getting more people on it. So the next iteration of Ayla, it started right as a chat. You can chat with the content, you can chat about specific content. Now we have worksheets. The other place I'd like to evolve Ayla is in a couple of different ways. One is bringing in more voice AI. So, you know how like you're learning something and you're applying it, but you don't get to practice. What if I'm learning about a sales process, or I'm learning about how to talk about, I'm learning what my inner nerd is. For example, in Ask John AI, there's a lot of companions that help people kind of unearth who they are and how they're different and how they're unique. But what if there was a way to practice now with an AI voice to practice your pitch, to practice a conversation, because you're now you want to express yourself differently. So bringing in and getting more people practicing vocally, right? Now that they can practice what they learn. So that's kind of something that we're building, and we're getting more people on and getting more feedback on. The other thing that we're exploring with Ayla is creating more of a Ayla for HR. So the whole concept that, you know, we have a lot of documents as employees, benefit documents, policies, all different kinds of documents. And especially for small and medium businesses, where do they store those that's secure? Right? Where do they store those where certain people can get to more administrative documents and other people can get to general documents, employees versus admin? Ayla is built for that. Ayla is built for smaller medium businesses to actually house all of their benefit data, their different kinds of policies, where employees have a safe space to ask questions. What is your maternity policy, your maternity leave? Maybe I don't want to talk to HR about I want to go on maternity leave because I just was hired and I need someone to talk about this, but I don't want to expose it yet, right? I don't, I need an easy place where I could, ask questions about my benefits and not have to find them and then read through them and, kind of interpret them myself. What if there was a tool where I could interact and chat with my benefit documents? So that's another area that we're exploring and looking into. How might we, offshoot or create another kind of project using the bones and the value of Ayla, but having it fit a different market. I think that could be really valuable. So we'll see.
That sounds awesome, especially the voice AI part. I guess if I had it like when I started doing all of these podcasts, I could have like practiced myself on Ayla, and I would become more confident. But hey, if you integrated anybody who's starting new, can kind of like get onto that and practice themselves. That's
Right.
awesome.
That's a neat idea because it gives you feedback as well on how well, and it gives you feedback on here are your strengths, here are your weaknesses, here are what you want to try next time. So I like that idea of even using it for general podcasters. That's a fun idea. That's fun.
Yeah. Awesome, Tanya. Amazing conversation, I should
Yeah,
say.
this is great.
And yeah, so one quick question though, you as a solopreneur as well, like as me, so sometimes it gets kind of lonely, right? I do have a lot of solopreneurs who are listening to this right now. So any piece of advice as to like how to overcome that loneliness? You sit in your room, you sit in your house, you rarely get out and meet people.
Yeah.
So how do you manage that? A piece of advice for me as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, we are part of a group, right, of other women builders. I think it's about finding even online communities at this point. Part of different Slack groups have been helpful where you can have conversations just even remotely. Finding people that you can just meet even remote, like, right, we've chatted through time zones and being able to create those connections. So finding some online groups that are helpful. I mean, please feel free to reach out to me, or, if I can be helpful. I love just having conversations. I love helping other people either get building or just talk about what they're building. So I think it's really about finding those other humans that are in similar situations and connecting with them and finding those groups.
Awesome. Fantastic. I
Yeah.
guess I should have Paulin as well, like as one of the
Yes.
guests. in my podcast, because that's a fantastic community. Thanks
Yes.
for bringing that up.
Yes, and I think there's a lot of communities spinning up for people who are like Lovable has they have a Discord channel.
Yes.
So if you're familiar with Discord, so which is really great. They also have in their Discord channel they have live sessions where you could just join live and you could just listen in. There's no pressure to actually converse if you're not comfortable yet. You can just go and listen and watch what they're building and they're having conversations. So that's kind of a really nice resource. So some of the tools nowadays, I feel like a lot of tools have their own Discord channels so that you can go and you can communicate and ask questions, say, hey, I'm running into this problem. Can anyone help me with this? So look to see if there's Discord channels in some of these products that you're using and start engaging with other people in those channels. That's a great way to make a community of your own.
Yeah, that's fantastic advice. Yep. Awesome. Tanya, like genuinely, thank you so much. Okay, because you come on here and you did not just talk about the AI products. You kind of like talked about everything, like what it means to build with the human experience. We kind of coined the term empathetic engineer.
Like
Um,
it.
yeah, but this is like very rare. Okay, and this audience kind of needed to hear it, and I needed to hear it. Everyone watching, Tanya's LinkedIn, I'll drop it in the description, and the product Ayla, I'll drop that as well. But so for anybody listening right now, how could they reach you? Like um, how to like how they can get in touch with you to
Yeah,
be mentored by you.
I'd love it. I would love folks to connect with me on LinkedIn. I will ask a favor. When you connect with me on LinkedIn, throw me a note if you can, right? Throw me a note about who you are, what you care about, what you'd like to, why you want to connect. That's really important to me. Again, being a human and connecting with other humans, I want to get to know you and kind of why you want to connect and how I can better partner with you or connect with you. So that's what I'd love. Feel free to connect with me. Just throw me a little note in there as well.
Awesome. I guess that will be of immense help because you are this composed founder that I've ever spoken to. And yeah, this has been fantastic, Tanya.
It's been so
Um,
fun.
yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to share to this crowd, like before we close out for today? I guess we are already over time.
Yeah, well, I just say, this is the Sisterhood podcast, and we are here to support you all. I really, really want to make sure that people are feeling inspired. If you have any inkling of an idea that you want to do, if you have an app idea, even if you have a favorite app and you say, I want to build that app myself, even if it's just for a learning experience, right? Go ahead and say, hey, I want to recreate whatever your favorite app is, try recreating it yourself. You'll learn so much. And maybe you just own that app, even just for yourself or you and your family. What if you wanted a little family Facebook, but you just wanted to have certain users in it? That's okay too. Just get out and build. If you're inspired to build, go try it. Do not let it don't let your past hold you back. Don't let any kind of, naysayers hold you back. Just try it or reach out to us and we'll help you get started.
Awesome. Fantastic, Tanya. I guess this is a note that we can end on and boost everybody's Saturday and your Saturday as well. I hope you had fun as well on this podcast, just as
Did.
I did.
I had a
Yeah.
great time. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Tanya. We learned a lot from you today. And I
Good.
look forward to having yet another conversation, maybe in another episode, or like we meet often in the other room. So
That
I'm
sounds
so
great.
glad.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Tanya.
All right.
Lovely talking to you. See you. All right, that was Tanya, everybody. I hope you had fun. You learned a lot from this podcast. I'll leave every description about Tanya, where you can reach her and everything in the description down below. And also, I'll pin a comment if it's easy to access. But if this episode did something for you, if it made you feel like you have the permission to start, or to like ship your products, or to just trust that your background is actually your superpower and not something that you can apologize for, please share it. Tag someone who needs to hear this. It's Women's History Month, and this is exactly the kind of story that deserves to travel. I am Aarti Rajendran. This is the AI Sisterhood podcast. We drop every Saturday at around this time. You heard how she built it. Now go build yours. Until next time, I'll see you around. Thanks for joining in.